Other guest, Kayode Adeniji, apart from being a legal practitioner, is also a dispute resolution expert. But his real passion is inspiring sincere and capable leaders. Now, let me ask you, can a righteous man ever be in power in Nigeria? Well, Kayode believes so. He has written a unique book titled Righteous Man in Power, and he sat with us to talk about it. Please join us after this break. Thank you for coming on the Children's Book Club, Kayode.
Thank you, colleague.
It's a pleasure having you here.
All right. Thank you.
Righteous Man in Power, interesting topic or title. But tell us about it and what inspired you to write it.
Yes, just like you've said, righteous man in power sounds almost impossible. And when I meditate on how we have so much intellectuals in our country and yet we remain clueless on the way forward, I get answers. When I meditate on the vast resources God has given to Nigeria and all of the things that we have, but the result is not too impressive, you know, answers come. And I have read a lot of books that talks about power, politics, and all. Some of these books will encourage people to be brutal. If you want to maintain power, you have to silence the opposition. If you want to maintain power, you have to be very brutal and, you know, very wicked. But we believe that there are men who can be righteous, who will lead with an iron hand, yet with a sense of justice, and, you know, make a developed nation out of an underdeveloped nation. And that is the reason why you have, you know, the righteous man in power. That it is possible to be in power, govern rightly, and finish strong. And all of the strategies to do that are inside that book, and that was what inspired me.
Okay, I'm going to play the cynic here.
Okay.
In Nigeria, you just have to wonder, is that possible in Nigeria? First of all, there is so much corruption. Secondly, politics is a do or die affair in a country like this. And most people who are righteous, you know, would rather stay away from politics entirely because it's almost like entering a death zone. While I was reading your book, I noticed that was exactly what you were trying to address, you know, but I've got to play the cynic here. Is that possible in Nigeria?
Colleague,
is that workable?
Colleague, it is very possible. And you'll see that the book is not about analysis of our problems. The book is not about, you know, the history of how things have gone wrong. It is beyond Nigeria, and I want to say this, that I was even surprised about the response, you know, from the writing of the book, even outside Nigeria and in other African countries. So people are beginning to realize that, you know, it is possible to have a righteous man in power. And you and I are in the same nation. Of course, if you want to create a change, you will have people who are going to deride you, make jest of your intentions. At the end of the day, they discover that that is not working. They begin to threaten you. If they discover that you're not bending to threats, they begin assassination attempts on your life. So it is not new. And a lot of people with sincere intention, if you like, call it right men in power, call it a right man in power, but it is RMP. When people, you know, have the vision to develop a nation, or you want to lead a nation, you have to have strategy. And what is failing in some of these sincere people that you talk about is because they don't have strategy. And in that book, you'll find gathering momentum, gathering men of like minds to ensure that you achieve what you want to achieve. The reason why you have sincere men go into politics, and at the end of the day you wonder, is it the same person who was talking so passionately about change and transformation? The reason is that when he got there, he discovered that he has been surrounded by a pool of corrupt people, so he's alone. The second reason is that there is no preparation, and in that book you'll find preparation in obscurity. And I believe that there are so many people in Nigeria in the forgotten corners of this country who are ready to take up leadership, and they are not afraid of death.
Mm.
And that is why I believe that righteous man in power in Nigeria and in other African nations is possible. Nigeria is going to be one of the world powers.
Mm.
At least 5 African nations are going to be developed countries in my own lifetime. And I believe that it is possible through the strategies laid out in Righteous Man in Power.
Mm. So you've written this book for such people, you know, who have such leadership potential, who have such hearts, you know, to lead Nigeria correctly. Those are the people I'm sure you desire to read this book,
Yes,
particularly.
yes. Even away from Nigeria, there are other countries where, you know, the governance of the country has been taken over by drug lords in some of the South American countries.
Yeah.
There are people there who read it and, you know, they send us, you know, responses about how the book has inspired them. So it is not only for Nigeria. The problem of Nigeria only is very small.
Mm.
Yes. If we have people...
A lot of people won't agree with that.
Exactly. It's very small because everybody talks about leadership and leadership and leadership. And all we need are good leaders. And those who are sincere, who want to do that, they are not strong enough. They don't have enough strategy. It is very laughable and comical when you see sincere men coming together to engage an evil system. It is because evil has prevailed because there is a watertight teamwork, you know, amongst those who practice corruption. But those who are sincere, they find it very hard to create a connection and do things together. Sincere men have an impression that it is only their activity, it is their own activity that will be able to create a change. They have this tendency to arrogate so much of themselves. But if sincere men can drop all of their egos and come together to form a watertight team, Nigeria can be a great place again.
But again, that's the major problem, you know, that you just outlined now, the major problem in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Where the right people who have the right values, who have the right hearts, who have the right skill sets, who have the right competencies, just never come together to solve problems. You know, let's even leave the national level now, even at the local levels, streets and estates.
Exactly.
You know, to get good people coming together to do things, it's a big challenge in Nigeria. Now, how can we deal with this? I mean, what have you recommended in your book?
Yeah, what we have recommended
in terms of dealing with that.
Okay, what we have recommended in the book is to let people know that the evil you want to oppose, they are as fearful as you are. They are as vulnerable as you are. And you have to realize that. For example, in some of the Northern African nations, people agree that they don't want a particular government, and they were able to mobilize themselves to unseat the government. But right now, they need a good leader. But the ability to do that is not there because people do not strategize from the beginning to the end. And in this book, you will find out how to organize yourselves, even communities and neighborhoods and churches and mosques, especially those who are spiritual, that the power that you have been given is not for you to be, is useless in heaven. It is useful here on earth, and you have to use it here. So we're saying that when you gather people who in their individual roles can create a change, and you bring them together to form a formidable force, no source of hell can prevail against such people.
Now, are we going to begin to see, you said earlier that Nigeria will be a superpower country.
Yes.
Now, when are we going to begin to see this? We are moving towards 2015 now.
Exactly.
That's another chance to get a righteous man in power. You know, when are we going to? The signs are not there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not skeptical. I'm an optimist. I believe in Nigeria. I'm very passionate about the country. You know, but I'd like you to share a bit of that, of your thoughts, particularly as you've written in this book.
Okay.
With regards to that.
Yes, Kunle. I was ready to wait for 4 years, for another 4 years, for people to really get and imbibe the strategy that is laid down in this book. the race of motivated men could be a 100-meter dash, powered by motivation. But the race of an inspired man is a marathon. So we are not setting a timeline to the change in Nigeria. That Nigeria is going to be a world power. There is no timeline to it. Because if you want to engage a system, you want to go the whole hog and ensure that victory is achieved. Now, it might not be looking like that now, but the response we have gotten, this book was published exactly 12 minutes after 12, on 12/12/12. And, the response now is just, to me, surprising, because we were ready to wait for 4 years before this book could really come out, to the consciousness of the people, and for people to see that, okay, there is a book, the first time in the world, that lays bare the strategies. We believe that with time, people will begin to read. With translation of it in our indigenous languages, with what we have on the social media, it is just with time. When people begin to read, just like you're doing in book club, creating the power, creating a chain through reading culture, people will get to this, and from one to another person, the change will begin. And it's already happening. This book is not going to cause it. People already have the potential to create a change, but the strategy to move forward, people are already angry. They can mobilize, they can do a lot of demonstration and protest, but the real strategy to ensure that right people are placed in positions, that is what this book is providing for. And Nigerians are ready.
Thank you for coming on the Channels Book Club.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.